All right, hello and welcome to Swing It and Ding It, an iHeartMedia podcast. Man, this is a birdie fest.
It's a Philly show, baby.
Let's go.
All right, welcome into Swing It and Ding It. And yes, we are a Philly show. And today we'll be talking about Philly golf. We are sponsored by Bet Parx. We'll talk about Bet Parx when we see the line later for the travelers. Buy My Balls. We'll talk about buying golf balls at an affordable price. And Wear SPF, which Harry does not need. He's not getting much sun, apparently, wherever he goes. These clouds follow. But yes. We are joined by Erin Cook, Senior Vice President of the Cobbs Creek Foundation, the most talked about golf project in the country, and obviously in the city of Philadelphia. Erin, welcome to Swing It and Ding It.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
So you're talking to three Temple graduates. Myself, I grew up in Southwest Philly, went to West Catholic my freshman year. Cobbs Creek was the first golf course I ever played. I have very little recollection of it. But I love it because it for me growing up and the guys we played golf with and getting to play really nice courses, it almost became like if a course was in bad shape, you'd be like, oh, where are we at? Cobbs Creek, right? And to now see what that is going to become makes me proud, right? And I think the city of Philadelphia is super proud to see. And I know it's been just an easy, kind of journey. Raked a couple bunkers, got a quick couple permits, and boom, you're off to the races. So it's good to see that was just such an easy process for you guys.
Yeah, really easy. I mean, 1, 2, 3, we're done. It just took a couple of months and a couple million, and we were good to go.
So Cobbs Creek Rising premiered last night. We're recording on Wednesday on the Golf Channel. You could find it on Golf Pass. Cobbs Creek Rising, Headwaters to Horizons, right? That was the first episode. And I thought it was an incredible just look into what is going on, right? I think when you talk to people, they're like, well, it's taken forever. Like, what's going on? They're restoring a golf course. But that couldn't be further from the truth. And when you see when this started, how it started, and then getting into all the history and then up into, all the issues, the permitting, the neighborhood, everything about it, just to see the level of commitment of the people involved to just persevere and push through, knowing what this could mean for the city was so cool to see. So congratulations on what seemed to be, on everything I saw on social media, just a great premiere of a 3-part series for you guys.
Yeah, it was amazing to see the premiere last night on the Golf Channel. We got a really great response. We've gotten tons of outreach. People have been giving us really positive feedback. Tons of board members, tons of, people who play golf in the Philadelphia area who love it from their childhood like you do. They're just so excited to see the work that we've done. And I think that's what the documentary did so well, is it really delved into how deeply committed we are to bringing the Cobbs Creek Golf Course back, but also how deeply committed we are to the community and to the TGR Learning Lab and to the kids and families in this area who are going to benefit from golf's popularity and golf's participation.
Now, Erin, what does it mean for Philly to not only bring back a historic golf course, but like you were just saying, build on something that invests in the future of the education too?
We're just so happy to bring this golf course back for Philadelphians. I mean, Philadelphians love sports. As you guys know, they love golf. That was just proven to be true at the Truist and out at Oakmont for the US Open this past weekend. Philadelphians who love their sports, they love golf just as much. I mean, I had the honor of following Rory's group out at the Truist on Saturday, and every single shot that he hit, somebody yelled, "Go Birds." And it was so funny because, he's not even American, but, that's Philly. And, we are tenacious in our love of Philly sports and love all that's happening in sports in Philadelphia. So we're really happy to bring the Cobbs Creek Golf Course back to become a part of that. There is an irregular PGA Tour stop in Philadelphia, and we think Philadelphia is an incredible market for sports and for golf. So we really want to bring it back for the people like you who played it in their younger years, who saw its decline, and it's going to be incredible. And I think for people that played it, through the 70s through 2020 when it closed, they knew that way back in history, there was something special about this golf course. And we at the Cobbs Creek Foundation just feel compelled to celebrate the history of the land and also celebrate all of the amazing golf that's happened there. And we want to bring a PGA Tour event to Philadelphia at Cobbs Creek.
Well, something else that is synonymous with Philly, Erin, is it's not easy to get things done. And, I know this has been a really long process. And if you want to expound upon that, our listeners would love to hear it. But I'm captivated by how you took this project that did have opposition, various, opposition, and got through those hurdles and eventually got a 16-0 vote in the city council. I found that, that first episode, that's really what jumped out at me. Like, how did you do that?
Yeah, and we weren't sure necessarily that we wanted the documentary to cover all of those details, because we were really deep in opposition. We were really deep in challenges and obstacles with the land, with permitting, with the city of Philadelphia, figuring out our way through, a 400-page lease with the city. So that was a really challenging time for the foundation. Jeff Shanahan, the president of the foundation, Enrique Arvada, Chris McGuire, I mean, they've been involved with the foundation since we became a 501c3 nonprofit in 2018. And it has been one challenge after the next. And Don Dissinger, our head of design and development, he has really been able to move those conversations from the obstacles to figuring out solutions. So I really credit Don and Enrique with changing the relationship with the city and figuring out a way forward and the right relationship, a working, cooperative, mutually beneficial relationship with the city, that they could help us get where we needed to go. We needed those people in place to really change the relationship with the city, the vendors, all the way from state, federal, and city organizations, that we needed their help in order to get this done environmentally, from a building permit perspective, the ability to build the TGR Learning Lab in the way that we did. So the city has come a long way in our relationship, and it was quite a turning point for us when there was some public opposition, but really when we got to Philadelphia City Council, they understood what we were doing, the truth of what we were doing, which is really, for the example of taking down the trees, we are using and repurposing all of those sticks to create 25 acres of wetlands. And we're doing a full creek restoration. And when we started this project, we were cleaning out the creek and taking cars out of the creek. And now this is going to be the largest freshwater and wetland restoration in a mega urban environment in the country. So now the DEP is on our side. The Pennsylvania DEP is on our side. And so we've really done an incredible amount of work to change those relationships towards progress and away from obstacles.
Incredible. So talk about, you mentioned that your dad played Cobbs Creek. Talk about your connection to the course and to the game of golf and what got you involved and to where you are.
So my dad says that he used to ice skate on Cobbs Creek with his dad. He grew up in Drexel Hill, and he told a lot of tall tales, and we're not exactly sure if that's true, if Cobbs Creek was ever, if you were ever able to ice skate on it, but I believe him. So he played a lot of his first rounds of golf in high school and in his summers at college at Cobbs Creek, and it was always a place that he talked about that was a beautiful, amazing course that didn't get the love and the attention and the maintenance that it needed. But he could tell it had amazing bones and that it was a really good golf course. So he always talked about Cobbs Creek growing up. And then my husband knew a lot about Golf Course Atlas. And years ago, the work that Joe Bausch was doing in photography and photographing a lot of golf courses. And he would just look at his website at the beautiful photos. And so my husband would talk about Cobbs Creek too. And so I sold my business in 2019 and was looking for something that was really purpose driven, something that was local. I wanted to get my teeth into a project that really had meaning for me. So I had a couple of conversations, one with Michael McDermott, who's a board member at the Cobbs Creek Foundation, and one with a friend, Jeff Shanahan, who's the president of the Cobbs Creek Foundation. And I said, could you guys use some help? And they said, we could really use some help. So I came in really to create the search for a management company and to work with the board to determine whether we wanted a general manager to report directly to the Cobbs Creek Foundation board, or if we wanted to hire a management company. And we quickly realized that we needed a management company to help get us off the ground and to help us manage the golf courses and the property. So we hired Troon, and they've been absolutely amazing. And so since then, I've really taken on more responsibility with fundraising, marketing, and strategy for the foundation. And I'm so honored to work with this group because honestly, they are a tough as nails group who just will not take no for an answer. And it's fun.
Very cool.
Yeah, a lot of fun, I'm sure. Erin, you mentioned the Truist Championship at Philly Cricket a little bit ago. Selfishly, I want to know, because Philly is part of the national golf conversation now. I mean, we've been pushing for this and wanting a PGA Tour event. So we got a little tease with the Truist. What have you guys done, if anything, to make sure that, the potential PGA Tour event does come back? And you mentioned maybe as soon as 28, 29. Has there been anything that you've done with the course to make sure that it happens and it can accommodate a tour event?
Yeah, so right from the beginning of the development and design of the property, we have included the PGA Tour and their events companies in the conversation. So we've had them on site several times to make sure that we're laying the groundwork from an infrastructure perspective to be able to handle a large event like a PGA Tour event. So they've been listening and they've been paying attention really closely to what we're doing in terms of the property and making sure that we can get that amount of people in and out of the area. What are some of the best design and development decisions we can make to make sure we can be a great venue for the city of Philadelphia for a PGA Tour event? And then we've had great conversations with them at the executive level. I'm sure you saw in the documentary that their head of global ventures, Len Brown, is a Philadelphian. He's a fan. He loves the idea of what we want to do at Cobbs Creek. And they came for, I think, maybe their third or fourth visit during the Truist, because the Truist and the PGA Tour designated the Cobbs Creek Foundation as the beneficiary of their charitable dollars during the tournament. So we got an amazing contribution from the PGA Tour and Truist. And there was so much hype about us that they came to the property and kind of saw the progress and saw where we are right now. And they're really excited. I mean, they're blown away by what we're doing and the progress that we've made. So the conversations are going in a really great direction. And they did mention 2028. I'm not sure. I think our golf course is going to be done by 2027, but we're going to need a year of grow in. So we're thinking, hopefully, fingers crossed, we could do a PGA Tour event in 2029.
Well, now
That's so exciting.
The history of Cobbs Creek, of course, includes Charlie Sifford, and that leads to Tiger Woods, which eventually led to the TGR Foundation. Talk about that relationship and when that sort of started and how that blossomed to what we have today.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really amazing synergy there. It took a while for us to get to Tiger, but we knew that we needed an education partner from early on in the planning of the project. And we absorbed an amazing community service organization in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. And they sort of became our boots on the ground in all of the schools. So we've had teachers and volunteers and educators in the 120 surrounding schools near the Cobbs Creek Golf Course for over 4 years. And so we've been doing a lot of local immersion into, meeting the families and understanding the needs of the community, talking to the kids, finding out what courses they'd like to have offered. But we wanted to talk to Tiger because we knew what the TGR Foundation did. And we thought that the Cobbs Creek area might be an excellent market for them. And so I think it was Jeff and Chris McGuire who met Tiger down in Florida. And as soon as they started talking to him about Cobbs Creek being the home course of Charlie Sifford, Tiger was in. I mean, he has a really close relationship with Charlie. He called him Grandpa Charlie. He named his son Charlie after him. He really credits him being his mentor and showing him the way on the PGA Tour. So they were looking for an urban market to open a new TGR Learning Lab. And they were hoping it could be somewhere in the Mid-Atlantic, somewhere in the Northeast. And so when they came and saw what we were doing at Cobbs Creek, they were 100% in, and they've been an amazing partner for us for education.
Wow. So cool. So cool. Couple things that really I took away from the first episode of the docuseries. One is with Gil Hansen and Jim Wagner, right? Two of the biggest names in the game and in restoration. And when you see Gil Hansen, who used to go out pro bono and fix portions of the golf course, and Jim Wagner, who played high school golf on the course, I mean, it must be so meaningful, those guys who literally travel the world working on golf courses, to be in a place that has, roots, their roots, and has such meaning. So talk about what it means to have two guys like that having their hands on the property and the restoration.
Yeah, I mean, that story from beginning to end is so interesting. Starting with our golf nerds, Joe Bausch and Mike Serba. I'm in my comfy place with golf nerds. I'm sure, all of you are too. People who are just so into the details and the complexities of the golf, in Philadelphia and the history. So they reached out, like they said in the documentary, when they created the Friends of Cobbs Creek in the early 2000s to Gil and Jim before they were the #1 golf course architects in the world. This was when they were local Philadelphia golf architects, and found out, Jim Wagner, who went to O'Hara, he played high school golf at Cobbs Creek, and he has a very personal vested interest in the redevelopment and revitalization. So Gil, as you know, his company is local right here in Malvern. Jim is down in Florida now, but we went down and visited him, and he is 100% all in for this Cobbs Creek project. He feels like this is his baby. As I said, he played his high school golf here. He has a huge stake in bringing this back, and he's been in conversations with us for 15 years. So he's kind of like, okay, let's get started. I want to get on a bulldozer. I want to get on an excavator. Like, let's go. And we're trying to dot the I's and cross the T's. But he's starting this summer. Gil and Jim have both been incredible supporters of this project. We are so honored that they're going to be the ones to do this renovation starting this summer.
So cool. So
a lot of big names, a lot of talent on this project for sure.
Yeah.
Erin, I always like to close out our guests with a Philadelphia style question. So if you can go ahead and share what you feel is, either the most fun or your favorite Philadelphia golf course you've ever played.
Favorite Philadelphia golf course? Well, I have a great story about Riverton, but I can't talk about New Jersey because I'm a Philadelphian, and I grew up very luckily playing at Aronimink, where my dad ended up playing most of his golf. I can't say it's Marion because that's too hard for me. So I have to say that my favorite golf course in the Philadelphia area is Aronimink. I absolutely love Aronimink. I tend to be long and wrong, so it gives me a little bit of leeway there because I could get out of the trees and I get myself in trouble and then I get myself out of trouble. And I absolutely love Aronimink, and we are really, really excited at Aronimink to host the PGA Championship next May. And coincidentally, what we're doing with the documentary is we're dropping the 3 episodes around the golf events calendar in Philadelphia. So this episode came out after the Truist at Philly Cricket. The second episode is coming out after the PGA Championship at Aronimink, and then the third episode is going to come out when we are open to the public and teeing off of the first hole at Cobbs Creek.
Okay. Oh wow, cool. I didn't realize. Well, we're gonna have to play together. We have similar games, and we had Jeff Giddy on last week, which was so cool, right? To go from that conversation to this conversation. So I heard
that episode. He's so great. Jeff is such an amazing golf professional. We love him at Aronimink. We're so excited for what the club is doing and what the PGA of America is doing to prepare for the tournament. We're really, really excited.
Love it. Well, listen, if there's anything we can do, Swing It and Ding It, iHeartMedia. I saw you guys have a podcast studio there. Maybe we can come do a show from there. If you want us to come out and teach the kids, something, we could be happy to do. Any way we can get involved, we would love to be a part of this.
Let's definitely do it. Let's do it because we have this amazing music recording and podcasting studio that's one of the classrooms in the TGR Learning Lab, and we're going to start a Cobbs Creek podcast, but there's only 7 of us at the foundation, so we're all kind of wearing every hat. I'd like to start the podcast and call it the Cobbs Cast, which I think is a cute name.
That is
but we need to get some experts and some professionals like you guys, and then I'd love for the kids to be the hosts. So we're working through a planning outline for that for this summer, and we'd love it if you guys would come down and take a tour and maybe record something in the studio.
Happy to.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, we'd be honest.
Mr. Bausch knows all about my broadcasting history. Just ask him sometime.
I will ask him. Any conversation I can have with Joe, I'm loving
Yeah.
it.
Well, thank you, Erin. It was great talking to you. Continued success. All eyes are on the project with anticipation and excitement, and it was really great to see it. If you didn't catch it, head over to Golf Pass, and you're able to watch it right there. I know it's re-airing a bunch on Golf Channel, but really well done, and I think gave a great perspective into everything that's been going on to get to this point. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for generating the awareness. That's what we really need in the project right now. You know, we're going around the final turn in our fundraising campaign and creating awareness and having people talk about it and having this be a big conversation topic in Philadelphia golf is exactly what we need. So thank you so much.
You got it.
Thank
All
you.
right, let's
Thanks,
take
Erin.
a quick break, and we will be right back.
T
Yeah.
first. Okay.
Yeah, T first. And we're back. Welcome back to Swing It and Ding It. Great to talk to Erin Cook on the project that has been a labor of love. I mean, it's funny. I mean, what was it? I think 2 years ago we had a guest on from there, and you know, it in the docuseries it talks about like how they were planning on 2024 to really have things going, and you see what they're dealing with
Yeah.
all the city, the different municipalities, the environmental. But I think it continues to push through, and I think, you know, obviously now we see a finish line, so it's going to be great to see this come to fruition. True
And
Philly golf.
Oh yeah, and all the names in it, like she was talking about Gill and Tiger and Dissinger, like it's
Spieth, I think
quite-
Spieth was involved too, right? I mean, he had some
he has a
involvement
connection to it as well.
with the
Quite
short
the
course, I
project.
think. Yeah, very, very cool.
And I'm just over the moon. I'm like, I like the Truist. That was so cool to have there, and to potentially have another venue that can host a PGA Tour event. Like, I'm excited.
Yeah, and it'd be great to get a regular tour stop, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right? That's on the calendar every year.
Yeah, the majors are great, right? The Truist was a one-off. That was just a one-time thing, but
Right.
I would love to see. And
We want an
there's-
annual tournament.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Danielle, let's spill some tea, and then we'll get into the U.S. Open recap and take a peek at the Travelers.
Oh, U.S. Open, that happened this past weekend, huh?
Sure did.
Lots to talk about with that, but let's start off. I mean, I guess this is kind of a good segue. So James Nicklaus, we've seen him a few times shed some light on what it costs to be, you know, a tour player. He got some, you know, internet trolls giving him some grief about how much he was spending when he was in Argentina, but he just did a breakdown of his costs and earnings for playing in a major. So that was, you know, something I think not a lot of people think about either, is these guys have, well, half of them or more have to qualify. So you have to do like the local qualifying, and then you have to do sectional qualifying. So he broke all that down, which, you know, sometimes people forget about that. So some people are flying out for 2 stages of qualifying and then won't even make it through. But James Nicklaus was able to qualify, and he was able to finish T61. So got a nice little paycheck, had some sponsors taking care of, obviously, balls, gloves, things of that nature that they obviously do. And then he had one of his sponsors fly him home. So saved on a flight home as well. This event only spent $350 on groceries. So after expenses, he ended up earning $34,894. So a little bit more than he made on that Corn Ferry event in Argentina, which I think was like, what was it, $1,000 or a couple $100?
Mhm.
But I always like when he does something like this.
Yeah.
It just gives people perspective, because again, a lot of people think that the PGA Tour is like the NBA or the NFL, where, you know, you jump on the team plane and they fly you there and you're staying in the team hotel and everything is for free.
Mhm.
The only thing you're getting for free really on the PGA Tour is a courtesy car, and you have to fill it up with gas.
Wow.
Yeah. So pretty cool. Staying on the topic of Oakmont, there was an amateur who played Golf Channel's Brandon Newcomer. He played the morning after, same pins, members tees, and he shot a 93. That's 23 over in one round. So just to put things into perspective, we were talking about that when we were at the Truist, that I was like, how many people, like, what does your tee sheet look like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday after
Yeah.
the Truist? Because it's always a thing whenever I'm walking at an event and I hear the members like, yeah, we got a tee time on Monday. We're playing it in tour condition, like
conditions.
how it's set up for them. And most of the times they're like, don't touch the pins. We want to play the Sunday pins. So it's always cool to see, something like that. But to see he shot a 93-23 over in one round, just put it into perspective further than from what we saw on TV this past week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know the media got to play. Some of the members of the media get to play it the day after too, and I'd be curious to know how some of those guys did. But I did the thing on the U.S. Open website where you can say what would you shoot at Oakmont, and I put in my handicap index, and it said I'd shoot 100, and I'm like, there's no way I'd shoot 100 there. That's being way kind. I don't know where they got that number, but after watching it for the weekend, there's no shot that I'd shoot 100.
I had a friend go up, I think like 3 weeks prior to the US Open. Obviously it wasn't even in full tournament conditions. And he actually is getting a shadow box of his broken wedge in his scorecard of like 134 or something like that, because he got a little frustrated with how the conditions were. And like I said, that was probably like 3 or 4 weeks ahead of tournament time. But Harry, I'm surprised when you mentioned that. I thought you were going to go with how does one apply for media to play afterward. We need to get Harry on that.
Oh, well, I could get a media credential for a U.S. Open. I've actually been to.
No, I mean to play, like media.
Well,
to play
you have to have a credential first, and then I think you work it from there, where certain members of the media get to play it. Like Mark Cannizzaro.
Let's put that on our radar to get Harry out there after next year.
I remember we played the BMW, right? And that was prior.
Yeah.
In Wilmington,
and of course it rained.
Actually, they're going to listen to the podcast and ban Harry. They're going to say he's going to show up. It's going to rain. We're not.
We had too much rain. They don't need me around.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. We do have to talk about JJ Spaun and the Men in the Sky. Did you guys catch wind of this at all?
No,
I did not.
Oh, this is pretty cool. So JJ's close friend and roommate, Andy Wood at San Diego State, passed away the morning of the final round of this year's Players Championship. And Spaun went out and played the quote unquote best golf of his life, which he pushed Rory to a playoff. And JJ had been obviously worried about keeping his tour card, everything else. And then obviously this past weekend came out on top. We found out that his caddy, he jumped into his caddy's arms at the end and he shouted in his ear, like Eddie in the sky. And a lot of people were like, what is that? Like, what does that even mean? JJ's caddy's father passed away on Father's Day last year. And throughout his play, he would say, not just at the US Open, but throughout this entire year, he said his dad would kick the ball out of the rough for him or give him a good lie or whatever. And they'd always be like Eddie in the sky. Like, that's why we're getting that, that good break. So I thought that was a pretty cool story. And to hear that come out and just that moment, there was a lot of coverage on his caddy, his coaches, things of that nature. But to see something like that pretty special come out, I think is pretty cool. Even, taking it back, the NEPA Invitational that Ben Griffin won, with the brother of, the foundation that we started. So sometimes something special like that just gives that motivation and makes it even better. But to have him finish and say Eddie in the sky, I thought was pretty special.
Very cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And then as he was leaving Oakmont, he goes, I'm going to have a beer for him tonight. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then everything's kind of on Oakmont because that's just with all over social media. But did you guys see the Rory kind of tomahawk club throw and actually bounced back at him?
Oh, yeah.
I did.
And the two kids in the back, did you see their reaction? At first they were like, what? As he threw it. And then when it came back and Rory, just that hand-eye coordination, I guess grasped it and caught it back. And the two kids kind of looked at each other and then started giggling. It was pretty funny. But there's a lot of different player reactions just with the frustration of the state of the course. But one that we highlighted in our group text that, we were not fans of would be the Wyndham Clark locker damage.
And he still has yet to come out and say anything about it.
How do you not apologize?
I haven't seen anything. you're
We
messing
all
with
have
history
frustrations,
too,
but
right?
yeah,
Like
what are they,
like
over 200 years old, these lockers
you're not
are?
going to
Like,
find that stuff and at Lowe's and like what are
Yeah.
you doing?
And then Graham McDowell posted, I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
He said something that, basically almost apologizing
He was
for
like
the
justifying it.
frustration,
Yeah.
justifying it. Hey, this is, one of the most frustrating sports at one of the most frustrating places kind of thing. This is what can happen. And hinted that it's happened before, and it may have been Tiger Woods. Like that's how people were taking it. Like he was talking about Tiger Woods years
really?
ago, did similar things, but it wasn't reported. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, shame on him too. Because I mean, you talk about history destroying the locker room. I know they can rebuild it, but that's
Yeah.
just compound that with the way he behaved a couple of weeks ago, where he threw his club behind himself and could have tomahawked somebody and taken their head off. This guy has anger issues. He needs some help.
Well, yeah, that's what they did say, Harold, though. They said this is minimal in regards to what I've seen other players do. Players you would never expect. Oakmont will test players' mental fortitude. Seen it in person. Guess who in 2016?
That's what I'm talking about. People were taking that as he was referring to Tiger Woods. I don't know if that's true or not.
But, well, it was somebody, and guess who in 2016? But other player reactions to the demands of Oakmont, we heard John Rahm in the hot mic, Bryson's hot mic, that tomahawk throw by Rory I just talked about.
Shane Lowry.
He's done with Oakmont.
Yeah, he finished runner-up years ago to Dustin Johnson too, so he's played that place really well.
Oh yeah, picking up his ball without marking
that
it.
Was
He's
funny.
Like, oh God. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, Scotty seeming frustrated on the range, and Rory smashing the tee marker. So we saw a lot of this, and then these were just the players that the camera was on. It's 2025. We have cameras all over with the patrons that are, capturing stuff too. But these are just some of the ones that I can quick highlight to let you know, like, what's been going on. So
I just love the way the Irish say the F-bomb. I get such a kick out of it.
Yeah. Well, talking about damage, let's take it over to the Corn Ferry Tour in Wichita, Kansas. I kind of talked about this ahead of the show with you guys. They had the course completely closed yesterday on Tuesday. We're recording on Wednesday. Players weren't even allowed out there. We'll have to take this and put this up on the Instagram story. Took out the grandstands. There's holes that were completely annihilated. They had a tornado sleep through. Brandon's out there. And one of our good friends, Mike, is on the bag too. And he, they were both saying like, you couldn't even sleep. You just heard like a, freight train coming through. And then this morning, Wednesday, tournament starts tomorrow, guys. There's 2 holes. They're not even able to play, or, they can basically walk around it today. But tornado came through and really did some damage there in Wichita, Kansas. So kind of crazy, but thankfully everybody is okay. No issues. Just, play 2 holes blindly, I guess. Keeping on the topic of Corn Ferry Tour, I know we got a lot of tea. I'll try to wrap it up here, but the PGA Tour Board approved adjustments to the Corn Ferry Tour competitive structure. So there is going to be some changes. It's kind of like what we've been hearing, I guess, with these, or what we've been seeing with these elevated events, really, with the PGA Tour and things of that nature. So changes are affecting the priority ranking. This is not effective until 2027. 26 going to have to be that like bridge gap year. But the top 60 players from the prior year's Corn Ferry Tour points list will be fully exempt. It used to be 75. So we see this theme here, right? We're chopping it down. We're making it smaller. It's just, it seems to be the trend that's occurring. And then players finishing 61 through 75 will retain like their health insurance benefits and things of that nature, but they'll be subject to a reshuffle after the season starts. So fields are getting smaller. They're, making it tighter and tighter. The transition year, as I mentioned, is 2026. And then the players who were former fully exempt category must use their exemption in 2026. So if you were in a winners category or a health category, medical category, something like that, you better use it next year because it's switching up, and in 2027 it's changing again. Top 30 finishers from the 2024 Corn Ferry points list and the top 5 in ties get into final stage of Q school, and then they'll get Korn Ferry exempt status in 2026 if they lose their tour eligibility in 2025. So a couple different things from there. I could highlight it all, but it's better for you guys just check it out if you are interested. And then want to know your guys' thoughts that Jay Monahan
How about that?
officially stepped down. How do we feel?
Well, we knew that was coming. I mean,
We did.
We knew that was coming. Brian Rolap from the NFL is going to take over, but apparently Jay is going to stick around for another year or so as maybe a consultant to transition the role. But Monahan had a very tumultuous run. I mean, a lot of stuff happened, and it really wasn't, it wasn't all his fault, but things, he could catch some blame for some of it, and maybe for some of the ways he pivoted after first coming out saying, this is what we're doing, and then, backtracking and changing things, going maybe behind the players' backs and negotiating with the live guys. And a lot of criticism can come his way, and it's fair. But they had to make a change, and hopefully this guy Rolap finds a way to get the best players playing together more often. I don't know how that works out, but hope that's, to me, isn't that his job number one? And to figure out whether these elevated events, because it doesn't seem sustainable with the kind of money that they're spending, even with their other investment. I don't know that it's sustainable to figure out a way forward, for the tour.
Yeah, I was surprised with the Korn Ferry changes coming right after they announced that Jay was stepping down. I was like, wait, are we restructuring? Is this going to all be changed again? And I wonder if he's going to continue on that path of let's make it smaller and smaller and smaller. Right. But the way that it's being set up is, we're not going to get to see guys like, even JJ Spaun was fighting we wouldn't see a story like that if we continue on this pathway where it's just going to be, we're just seeing the Scotties, the Rorys, the top players, and there's no way to break into that unless you possibly get an exemption. And we saw the exemptions at Truist and who they were. They're all big names.
And I don't know if that's the intent, but maybe that's their way of fixing slow plays. Just make the field smaller and smaller.
Right. Yeah, but not if the small field still have the slow players.
I don't think it'll change much, but yeah.
Right. The slow play, I think, is just going to be slow play. Like, you're playing for this amount of money, you're playing to keep your card. It's not like we're casually out there on a Friday playing with our friends, having a few cocktails. Like, if you need a ruling or, you really need to think about how to get up and down, you need to take your time and figure out what's going on. But a lot of changes in the world of golf professionally, and just kind of anticipating what this will be and if these management changes will affect it in any way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the tea. And that was brought to us by our friends at Wear SPF. All right. So US Open, we talked about it. JJ Spaun wins it. His first major, wins it with a 64-foot putt on 18. Bogey-free first round. So he jumps right out. He's all over the coverage.
66.
Right? He finishes 1 under, so he beats Oakmont, the only player in the field that beat the golf course. Sunday, right? +2. He's 5 bogeys in the first 6 holes, so he's done. He's out of it. There's no
sounds
shot.
Like me. 5 bogeys in the first 6 holes.
But he gets 4 birdies on the back 9. Benefits from a weather delay, right, to cool some other guys down and get his mind right. But $4.3 million and an incredible win. Bobby Mack comes in second place. Hovland is up and down, but his game seems to be coming into form. Cam Young, right? Yeah. It's like T4, Hatton, who was all over the coverage, Ortiz, and then you had Rahm and Scheffler right in that T7. But Harry, incredible U.S. Open. Seeing this course, seeing what Oakmont was doing to these guys. Danielle talked about it in the tee, but JJ Spaun just persevered.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, it's something I think people like us can really learn from. That it's not over. You bogey the first couple of holes, you can still rally. And Eddie in the Sky may have taken a timeout over the first couple of holes because JJ Spawn's luck was not good on Sunday. He went rough to rough on the first hole, makes a bogey. Then he hits an excellent approach shot on number 2. and it bounces off the green and hits the flagpole and rolls not just off the green, but like almost back to as far away as he was when he hit the initial shot. And he couldn't even see it with the way the contours are, but he knew something happened. And the look on his face when he finally saw that ball rolling off the green was like, oh my God. And that's enough to crush somebody. You know, like, what do I got to do? I just stoned a wedge shot, and here I am, you know, with this kind of luck. And then he missed the fairway on 3, which was a super hard hole for everybody all week. He couldn't advance the second shot to the green, makes bogey. Then he hits the rake on the par 5 fourth hole and ends up with a really awkward stance in the bunker, hitting a baseball swing. Missed the fairway on 5, couldn't advance to the green. On his second shot, makes a bogey. He made a par actually on number 4 when he hit the rake. My bad. But then he missed the green on 6 in the right front bunker and makes another bogey. And you're like, how are you going to come back from that, knowing you've got weather coming in, right? You've got 12 holes to go on this brutal golf course, and you're five over in the first 6 holes. It was just unbelievable what happened to him on the back 9, and you know. I was captivated by it. I didn't like the tournament up until maybe the latter part of the round on Saturday. I got kind of caught up with watching Burns and Spaun and Cam Young. You mentioned Hovland was hitting great irons, and I kind of got into it. Maybe that was because Scheffler really was kind of scuffling around, it seemed, all 4 days. He just couldn't get anything going. He'd make a birdie, and then he'd make a bogey, and he'd miss a real short putt, maybe for par, and it was like a sloppy bogey from 2 feet. And you're like, he just doesn't have it this week to win. But he's so good that he's still there, kind of off, you know, running off the pace. And you're like, man, he could catch fire at any moment, but he never did. But then I got really into it after the rain delay, and they came back, and I thought some of the conditions, we'll talk about the Sam Burns situation. My God, the way he accepted that brutality was amazing, because his ball was in
casual water.
Ball was in a puddle. I mean,
literally.
Yeah.
Now I know he had already made a couple of bogeys before that. He was 3 over on the front side, but still had the lead. And then I think he doubled 11. I have it right.
But something like that can get in your head, and then you're frustrated, and then even where you went, that could have cost. That probably cost him.
But that was like the 15th hole by the time he got that bad ruling. But still, I mean, you know, if he gets to move that ball, he might put that approach in a better spot. Who knows what happens from there? Yeah. So I felt really badly about him, because he played really great golf all week. But yeah, the 64-foot putt. How about the teach from Hovland? Hovland hits the ball just a few feet outside of JJ's. Talk about like maybe Eddie in the sky. You know, we're gonna affect your playing partner here, and he's gonna give you a teach on the putt. And I just thought it was amazing watching, you know, like Robert McIntyre's classy, you know, reaction to what he just saw. You know, giving him the applause. And you know, we saw a guy not too long ago. I know I harp on him a lot, but, you know, drop his head, sulk, walk out.
Rip his shirt.
Yeah, rip his shirt, walk out and screech out of the parking lot in the you know, the company or the vehicle, you know, like just acting like a baby. And then you see the way a class act like Robert McIntyre behaves.
Even Hatton, right? Hatton's doing an interview when he's like, unbelievable.
I mean, that putt, though, you're just
unbelievable.
Like, we were out to dinner. I stopped and I looked up. I'm like, wait, I just stopped speaking for a couple minutes, and I was just like staring up at the TV. And I'm like, wait, did that just went in? Like, people who didn't even like watch golf or had no idea like US Open was on. Like, I think my reaction, they were all like looking back of the TV, and some people were like, well, that was really long. Like,
and he didn't need the putt to win, obviously.
No.
You know, but it's cool. It's cool
to finish like that.
It's, you know, it's like
what a finish.
What a moment. That's going to be replayed forever.
Ever.
Yeah, and on those greens, you know, you're 64 feet away. Like a 2-putt is not a guarantee at all, right?
Ever.
Like you're grinding for a 2-putt there, right? Yeah. So it was still McIntyre's watching that because he's like, all right, if he goes 4 or 5 feet past,
right,
I'm in this thing, right? So incredible. And yeah, Terry, to your point, like to see that sportsmanship, I hope all the guys were watching that. I hope they see the reaction of the fans and how they appreciate that way more. Listen, I get it. You're pissed if you lose, but show some sportsmanship. No doubt about it. But especially when the camera's on you, right? You know when the camera's on you.
Yeah.
Right? go back to your hotel room and break a
And then,
lamp. I
yeah,
don't know.
or get in your car and scream, figure it out. But JJ Spaun all but secured his spot in the Ryder Cup. He now has secured his PGA Tour card for 2025. He secured exemptions into the US Open through 2035 and the next 5 editions of the other majors. Went on Father's Day, having 2 young daughters, jumped to 8th in official world golf ranking and 6th in FedEx Cup rankings. Yeah. Cool, $4.3 million, his largest single tournament win to date. I mean, just pretty cool. Pretty cool. And now we get to see him at the Open at Royal Portrush.
Mm-hmm. One of the daughters was puking all night the night before in the hotel
and he made a run out to CVS at 3 a.m.
Stuff. Like he had hardly any sleep. Not that he would really sleep all that well anyway, given the final round of the Open. But everybody will talk about the putt, and I get it. But the 17th hole, the tee shot on the drivable par 4 was the shot of his life. I mean, it was an unbelievable drive, puts it on the green, ends up making birdie, and then has to come out to 18, which is one of the toughest drives in all of golf to hit that fairway. We saw so many great players missing the fairway, even with shots that would hit the fairway and eventually run off into the deep rough. He stones one and then hits a 6-iron, another cut about 190 yards and puts it where he puts it and makes the putt. So it was really cool.
It was cool. Easy guy to root for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And probably tough to play against, right? Because he seems like he shows his emotions. He does. Like you see it in his face a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's got that gear to him. So I love the fact that he's going to be a Ryder Cupper. I love seeing some new blood. Right. I hope Ben Griffin's is there, continues playing well. There's one guy at the bottom that I hope just keeps dropping.
At one point, I thought Ben was going to be
last guy to just drop off. You guys know who I'm talking about.
We do.
The waggler.
Yeah. Ben at the U.S. Open too. I saw his play at one point. Brandon was even looking. He's like, the way Ben is striking this right now, like he's going to finish up there. Like he's been on a streak. It's fun to watch.
And one final thing with Spaun, you juxtapose that to the way things went for him at the Players. You touched on it earlier, Danielle. Like, he goes into that extra, playoff the next day and hits that shot on 17 that he just thought he flushed, and he did. He is a flusher, but it just went a little far, hits the green and goes into the water, and then the look on his face like, I just lost the tournament.
Literally.
Like, is he going to be a guy that can ever get over that? And he wins.
He showed us. Yeah.
Of course.
After you hit that shot, it's like you can't even swallow, and then you come back, 2 months later, and you're like, I win.
Yeah.
Pretty
Great
cool.
U.S. Open.
Cool.
But the people really want to know, how did the round at Ramblewood go, Danielle? That's what people tuned in for. How was that?
I should have had some content up on the Swinging and Ding It, but it was nuts. I actually got an elite pairing. I was with the bride herself, with Gabby Papali.
Wow.
2 other girlfriends. It was funny. One of our girls, after 9, she's like, I'm done. I'm going to go back. I'm going to get a blowout, like maybe a massage. And I'm like, wait, you're not the bride. But we had a blast. We had a lot of fun. I did have to call the ranger over. There was some slow play. I was like, can we pick it up, put these people on the clock in front of us? But we had a shotgun, and there were 2 people off of each tee. So I guess that was kind of expected. We were right behind her mom, and I was like, I'm hitting into your mom. I don't care. I was like, clear the fairway, Janet, out of my way. But we had a blast. But it was a weekend. We started off, we at Ramblewood, which B came with us, and we were driving, and he goes, not going to lie, it's a little bit different taking this route to go to Ramblewood instead of Pine Valley. Yeah, I'm like, okay, okay. Well, we're slumming it today. But it was fun. And actually, Jaws did a really great job with that course, because I don't know if you guys have played it, but it's set up for people to have fun. It's, you know what I mean? It's not like they're ever going to hold a PGA Tour event there or anything like that. It's wide open. It's fun. Anybody can,
Great bar. Yeah.
Oh, and all my friends from Florida were like, are you kidding me? They were like fighting to buy drinks. They're like, wow, 6 drinks are $17. Like in Jupiter, it's $98. They were all like, hey, who wants a drink? Who wants a drink? So it was pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool. The our Green Valley member guest, Greeny and I played well. We finished 3-2. We were right there in it Saturday. We had one, I wouldn't say bad round. The team we played against just played really, really well. But
wait, didn't you go viral? Didn't you have
I videoed my buddy Nate. So he makes the shootout, and every hole went into a chip off because there were ties, and he chips one in to advance. It was tremendous. And they made, Nate and Johnny made incredible shots. They were in it right until the end. Stu Finkel and Doug Friel were actually the winners. Guy hits his drive off of 18, Harry, if you're familiar with Green Valley, into the bunker on 10.
Oh, wow.
And our guys, Johnny, smokes a drive all the way down the hill on 18. So we're like, it's over. I think it was Stu hits a hybrid out of the bunker to the front of the kind of right in front of the bunker on 18, but gets over to the left of the water, gets up and down, and close putts, boom, 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 tie. They got to go back, play it again. And then they came back and won it. But electric out there.
Yeah, very electric.
Yes, those things are fun when everybody's out there in the carts following along, watching it. But our boy Coop, the master of ceremonies, as always, Harry, just put on a great show, and it's a great event. It really is. It really is. So looking forward to the Legacy Club member guests coming up in September. Greeny and I are going to get into a shootout in one of these. That's our goal. But cool. And I'm going to see our buddy Corey Riley today at 5 Iron. I'm going to get a little iron fitting. It's been a minute, so I'm going to take a look at some new Callaways, see if I can get these irons dialed in. That's
we have the mini driver yet? Or we don't?
But the 7 wood. It was good. I put it into play a couple times. I have to play with it a little bit. I was losing it a little bit out to the right, so just gotta dial it in. But great contact off it. I was hitting on the range, and the guy next to me was like, "Damn, that sounds good." You're
like, it's a player, not the product.
It's definitely not
21 degrees.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So
nice.
Our golf outing is live. There's teams that have already signed up. I would encourage you, if you are playing, to get in there, because it will sell out. It will cut off. So the link is in our bio.
To send this link. I had a couple people ask me, what's the date again? I was like, let me get back home.
October 20th. Get in there. Get in there. Yep. And so let's also thank our friends at Buy My Balls, right? Tee off with top tier golf balls without the top tier price. BuyMyBalls.com for top quality recycled premium brands for a fraction of the price. Go to BuyMyBalls.com. That's balls with a Z. So we roll right from the U.S. Open into a signature event. I've talked about this before in the podcast. This is my first recollection of golf. I had an uncle that worked for Travelers, huge golf fan, always had it on TV. And I remember seeing the Travelers umbrella and then watching the Travelers tournament. And maybe that, sponsorship, advertising, that's what struck the nerve. Golf, it tied it all together. I bring it right back to that moment at my grandfather's house in 11th and Rittner, watching golf with my uncle. But the Travelers, no cut signature event, as we talked about. The course, of course, Harry, TPC River Highlands. You're up in that region right now.
Yeah, I'm about an hour away. I won't be getting over there today, heading home tomorrow. But yeah, not far. This is one I definitely want to attend, because it looks like just a fun place to play, it looks like. And also just a fun place to watch these guys over these final closing holes. But it's like, this used to be the Greater Hartford Open. You talk about Travelers. That's Hartford was the insurance town of the United States, where all the companies basically had headquarters. And that's the genesis of this. But yeah, TPC River Highlands, Pete Dye back in 1982. His understudy, Bobby Weed, did a redesign in 1989. It's a par 70, only 6,835 yards, the shortest golf course they play on tour. The average green size, 5,000 square feet. They're bent and Poana. The collars, approaches, and fairways are all the same, bent and Poana. But the rough is Kentucky bluegrass. We've had a lot of Kentucky bluegrass rough here of late on the tour, and fescue, and it's going to be at 4 inches plus. There's 69 sand bunkers, 4 water hazards, and they're in play on 5 of the holes, many of them in the closing section. The average fairway is 30 yards wide, and the finish is great. There's a drivable par 4 15th with water on the left, the par 3 over the water on number 16. Then you turn around, and the par 4 17th has water all down the right, and then your second shot is a carry over water to the green. And then you turn up towards the clubhouse on the par 4 18th, which is not an 18th closing hole that blows you away. But it's a very tight fairway with a big fairway bunker on the left and kind of a hill on the right that if you don't want to be on there, because it makes the approach a really difficult shot to a narrowish green with a large bunker in the front right corner that has figured into this championship greatly. Remember, Jordan Spieth holed a bunker shot out of there. There's been other bunker shots made from that bunker, at crunch time, and there's like an amphitheater grass bank around it, which is a pretty cool way to finish. It's just the hole is not something that would tip. I don't think is all that difficult for these guys for the closing hole, but these guys are going to need to be around 20 under par to have a chance to win, especially with how wet it is. They've had the same wet spring that we've had at home. It's going to be really soft. It's not very long. If you could put your drivers in play, it's a wedge game and a putting contest. So, beware when you're picking your players this week.
A little bit different than last week for sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Tight field. You got some sponsor exemptions. Tom Kim, Ricky Fowler, who does he get a sponsor event?
I think he's going to get one from now until when he's 60.
Yeah.
Luke Clanton, Gary Woodland get in on sponsor exemptions. You had obviously Scheffler. He won every tournament last year. This was included in that. Keegan in 23, Xander in 22, and Harris English in 2021. Our friend Jeff Ulrich, 10 of the last 11 winners of this event had posted at least a T31 at TPC River Highlands prior to winning. And the last 6 winners, not including the COVID season, all had a top 5 finish in their first 3 months of the season in the same year in which they won the event. When we look to see the line with our friends at Bet Parx.
Yeah, and Corey Connors is not in the field. He hurt his wrist. I don't know if he broke something or severely hurt his wrist at Oakmont, and Johnny Vegas is in for him.
Okay, there you go. Get him in your lineup. Keegan, T2 here, 1 in 23, 3,500. I don't hate that number. Cantlay, T5 in 2024, T3 in 2023. I think he needs to win an event, right? Like this could be the one short number of 2,200. When you look at Bet Parx, I mean, obviously Scheffler's 280, and then Rory at 1,200. JT's had success here, T3 and 16, T5 and 24. Henley also had some success here, T6 and 18, T11 in 16. Jordan Spieth won this in 2017. His numbers at 4,500, as well as Ben Griffin. If you're looking at somebody that's playing well right now, how are you seeing this, Harry?
Well, I'm looking at this through the lens of last week in a large respect. In fact, the guys that were really in the mix throughout, for the 4 rounds, I'm fading them. I'm just staying away because I think the mental grind and the physical grind that was last week is going to be a whole lot to sort of rebound from to play another great 4 days of golf. So I'm looking at guys that either missed the cut or just really weren't in contention through the 4 days. That have a good course history here and can hit good wedges and good irons. And I'm looking at Brian Harmon. He was T59 last week at the U.S. Open. He's had tremendous success at this golf course with a lot of top 10s. I know you don't like watching him because he's all the waggles, but I'm taking him in a top 20. Justin Thomas is my one and done guy this week. Outside of last week where he missed the cut, he's been trending pretty solidly. You look at his stats, you look at where he's finished. He's got a win a couple of weeks ago. I'm going with JT. Spieth always plays well here. He has a win here. He was T23 in the U.S. Open, not really in it, on Sunday. He's plus 130 for a top 20. I'll take that. Straka missed the cut last week. His irons are just too darn good. I'm taking him in a top 10. And I'm going to take Akshay in a matchup over Sungjae Im at you get plus 100 on Akshay. You got to risk 130 on Sungjae. I will take Akshay.
Very interesting. Danielle, our eyes will be on Kansas to make sure everything goes well there. Rooting for Brandon and rooting for that event to take place in the Korn Ferry Tour.
Yeah, I just put up while we were talking here some stories on our Instagram. So we'll have to. You guys can check that out to kind of see the damage. And then also when I looked at our Instagram account, I saw that Justin Tupper has followed us. So he's a friend. He's part of the Cobbs Creek Project. So that may just be our next guest.
There you go.
Nice.
I love it.
The women have a major this week, the KPMG Women's PGA Championship down in at the Gil Hanse course. Gil Hanse is everywhere. Frisco, Texas. That's the PGA headquarters now. It is going to be hot, so hot down there. That's going to be something they're all going to have to deal with. Jin Young Ko, I'm going to take her at plus 3,500, and Nelly is plus 850. It would be great to see, someone at the top of this board win this. Gino Tidikin is plus 900. They need somebody that there's been, I think, 11 different winners over the last 12 majors on the LPGA tour.
Wow.
And nobody's really sort of, taken the forefront and going. I think a superstar, Nelly Korda, she becomes a superstar that really wins a lot on this tour. I would do a lot for that tour. I'd love to see her win. But one other nugget on Spaun, I saw this. He was the first player to shoot 40 on the front and go on to win the U.S. Open since Francis Ouimet did it back in 1913.
Wow.
Who doesn't remember that? Yeah.
He shot 32. Yeah, they made a movie about that one. Then he shot 32 on the back. That's the lowest score on the back nine to go on to win since Johnny Miller shot 31 at Oakmont in 1973.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
32. So the next time I turn in, 54, I'm thinking, man, I got a 38 in me here on the back. Let's go.
Damn right, Harry. Damn right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you to Erin Cook from the Cobbs Creek Foundation. If you didn't get a chance to watch the first part of the docuseries, check it out on Golf Pass. You'll learn a lot about the process and everything that's going on and the future, which looks bright for the Cobbs Creek Foundation. And we'll be back next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.